You can't charge in the U.S. more than the average price that you're charging in these other similar markets. Is it really a good idea for the American taxpayer to subsidize the television commercials of pharma companies advertising all of their overpriced drugs on TV? If you want to advertise direct to consumer, that's fine. You do that on your own dime. Why are we subsidizing you? These big companies, these big PBMs, they make more money than ever before. It's a racket. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. Dr. Feldman, if I could just start with you, I want to talk a little bit about the cost of prescription drugs. You noted in your testimony, your written testimony, that the United States pays the highest prices for prescription drugs anywhere in the world. I was just looking at some of the numbers this morning. We pay about 250% more than 32 comparison countries in the last 2021 Rand Corporation analysis. I mean, that's extraordinary. Insulin, for example, average U.S. price per standard unit of insulin is $98.70. In Australia, it's $6.94. It's $12 in Canada. It's $7.52 in U.S. dollars in the United Kingdom. I mean, that's really just extraordinary. Why shouldn't we require by law some form of index pricing where we say to the pharma companies, look, you could set the price how you want on the global market, but taking the industrialized countries or Western European countries, or choose your set of countries, I mean, whatever would be appropriate economically, you can't charge in the U.S. more than the average price that you're charging in these other similar markets. I mean, is there something wrong with that, and what would you suggest as an alternative if so?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that if it's done well. We have to be careful about who we're referencing to and exactly which prices we might be referencing. But you're absolutely right. We pay more than every other country by far in the world for prescription drugs. 340B reform is important. I'm glad we're here today to talk about 340B reform, but it isn't going to solve the problem that you mentioned. We need other solutions to solve that problem. I think doing international reference pricing is one solution. Expanding the price negotiation under the Inflation Reduction Act is another solution. Patent reform to make sure that we get generics and biosimilars on the market is another solution. There are a lot of ways to lower drug prices in our country, but we have not been managing to do that for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's obvious, and everybody who is out there paying these prices for prescription drugs, I mean, people just can't afford it. I mean, the cost of insurance is totally unaffordable as it is. And then you add on top of that prescription drugs, those that aren't covered by insurance, even those that are, I mean, the prices are they're just astronomical. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand why American consumers should have to pay 250, 300% more. Senator Welch and I have a bill on international index reference pricing. We just say the pharma companies can set the price in the market, the global market, where they want it. But what they cannot do is, listen, I'm a former prosecutor. We used to call this price gouging. What they cannot do is gouge the American consumer by saying we're going to pay $100 for insulin. And meanwhile, the same companies are charging $10 in Canada. I just think that's totally outrageous. While I'm on the subject of the pharma companies, can I just ask you something else as a matter of policy? Is it really a good idea for the American taxpayer to subsidize the television commercials of pharma companies advertising all of their overpriced drugs on TV? I mean, do you have an opinion on this?
I don't think that is a good idea, but I would love to hear more about what specifically you're referring to.
Well, what happens currently is the pharma companies can actually write off as a business expense their advertising costs. So they can put up on television these ads about their drugs that they're then charging us 250, 300% more for than other countries and other consumers, and then they can take all of those costs that they use on their advertisements and they can write them off. So effectively, the American taxpayer is subsidizing these big pharma companies that don't seem to me like they need any more subsidies than they already get, and yet they're getting subsidized by the U.S. tax code. I just think we ought to end that. I mean, we ought to say, listen, if you want to advertise on TV, which I'm not sure is a great idea anyway, but putting that to one side, if you want to advertise direct to consumer, that's fine. You do that on your own dime. Why are we subsidizing you? I just think that's insane. I mean, do you have a reaction to that?
I completely agree. I think it's a terrible idea that we have these commercials in the first place. We're one of the only countries in the world where you can advertise directly to consumers. And so I agree with you.
Let me just ask you one other thing in my remaining seconds here. Do you have a view on the rapid consolidation of pharmacies, the loss of independent pharmacies in this country, PBMs buying up pharmacies left, right, and center, in some cases PBMs buying up doctors' practices, buying up hospitals, integrating all of them? I mean, basic economics would tell us when you have that kind of integration, that kind of vertical integration, you're going to get an increase in prices. Do you think that has anything to do with the increase in drug prices that we've seen, and can we do something about it?
I do think it can contribute, for sure. I think that having these big consolidated entities that control all aspects of care is not a good idea. And I think that efforts to restrict that, to limit that, would be helpful.
I do too, and I think frankly we just shouldn't allow the PBMs to buy up other parts of the supply chain. We've got 2 counties, I'll finish with this, Mr. Chairman. We've got 2 entire counties in Missouri now that have no pharmacies, 0. We used to have more independent pharmacies than just about any state in the nation. Now we have some of the fewest, and we've got whole counties where you can't find a pharmacy. And yet these big companies, these big PBMs, they make more money than ever before. It's a racket. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The 340B program is something that I support, but I believe is in desperate need of reform. I would like to share this chart, shows the challenge I think we're all facing. It's inflation. Healthcare inflation has gone up in this century faster than any other product. You see hospital services at the top of that list. Other medical care services are here.
Senator Husted, can you bevel that out so the audience can see as well? Well, I guess they can see it on the screen. Okay.
So as Senator Tuberville talked about, we have some rural hospitals that can hardly make ends meet. We have FQHCs that are truly serving low-income patients. But then we have some people that are 340B hospitals who are running Super Bowl ads and have huge CEO salaries and expenses at those entities. And so what I hope we will be able to accomplish with this conversation is targeting the savings that comes out of 340B toward the places that are most in need of those resources to help drive down the cost for consumers. And but I do want to clarify a couple of things. And this is for Dr. Sen. Some claim that the 340B does not cost the taxpayers 1 penny, but CBO's September report found that the program encourages behavior in a variety of ways that increases federal spending, such as clinicians prescribing more drugs and that are more costly. Could you please just expound on that a bit?
Yes, of course. Thank you for the question. Yes, so in our recent report, we talk about 4 behaviors that we believe are incentivized by the 340B program that tend to increase federal spending. As you mentioned, there are incentives to prescribe more and higher cost drugs, incentives for manufacturers to limit rebates to commercial plans, Medicare Part D and Medicare Advantage plans, incentives to expand services, some of which would be reimbursable by federal programs, and incentives to increase vertical integration, which generally raises prices for commercial and payers and Medicare.
And would you agree that you could reform the program so that it serves low-income and make low-income patients, helps make healthcare more affordable, but can resolve those issues?
So the report is not focused on sort of evaluating different policy options, but certainly if CBO were asked, we would look at the specifics of any given policy and assess the implications.
Great.
On hospitals.
Consider that we'll be asking. Thank you. Ms. Rosenberg, I want to talk to you about the fact that the 340B program requires hospitals to have a contract in place with state and local government to provide healthcare services to low-income patients. In the 2019 GAO report, it recommended that HRSA implement a process to verify each 340B hospital has an active contract that complies with the statute. Can you explain HRSA's current enforcement requirement and how implementing this policy could benefit patients?
Sure. So currently, HRSA looks at a small number of the hospitals to see if they have a contract. In particular, they look at a sample of newly registering hospitals, and then they would also look at hospitals if they were selected for an audit. And they audit 200 entities, hospitals and grantees each year. But the large majority of hospitals have been participating in the program for years, and HRSA has not verified whether they have a contract or not.
Why?
Well, in response to our recommendation that they do so, HRSA indicated that it would be burdensome on the covered entities to have to submit those contracts, and they also,
Is it the law, though, that they have to do this?
it is required to have a contract.
Okay,
And I would
then-
also add that HRSA was concerned about the level of resources it would involve on their behalf to verify the contracts.
Okay, before my time runs out, FQHCs make up a fraction of the 340B program spending, and they help low-income individuals afford healthcare. As Congress looks at 340B, should we think about FQHCs differently than hospitals?
I think you could. One thing I would note about FQHCs is as part of getting a grant from the health center program, they are required to have a sliding fee discount for low-income individuals. And so that's a requirement that doesn't necessarily exist on all of the other 340B participants.
But it helps create affordability.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah, great.